Welcome to Screens in Focus, the podcast where we talk about TV and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about music videos, those mini movies that shape our music experience. Renee is back to join me. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello, I'm well. How about you?
I'm great. I'm so glad that you're back to talk with
You're
me about music because I know that that is something in common that we both really love
yes.
and different decades that we really appreciate. So, we're going to talk about the impact of a lot of the music videos that we see in the 80s, outside of the 80s, and just some of our top favorite music videos. So, we're going to dig in. And we're going to start with our question of the day. And we want our friends out there to think about this question and answer with us, along with us also. And the question of the day is, what is your all time favorite music video? Okay, your all time favorite music video. So think about that, Renee. Friends out there, think about that. We're going to answer that a little bit later on. But Renee, what I also want to know is, what is a music video that the first one that you recall, or maybe something that had an impression on you?
Well, I remember the day that MTV came out, and I think my mom was watching it when it launched, but and it was like midnight, right? So we were in bed. But I remember that first days or whatever. I did the one video that I really remember, like almost like the first one that I remember is Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders. And it was like in like a little diner, and like there's a part where they say special, special kind of thing, and the guys hold up a special, like on the lunch or the menu or whatever. And I just really remember that one for some reason. When I read that question, I was like, that's the first one that popped into my head.
There's so many. I don't remember that one in
Mhm.
particular. And as you said that, all of these are running through my head. So, and it's really hard for me to pick just one. But I think when I think back, when I think MTV, like when it started, when we were first watching them all, this is not my favorite one. And I know it's a very popular one, but the one that I think of is Sledgehammer
Mhm.
by Peter Gabriel. It's considered one of the very best, with the train going around his head and everything. So, that reminds me of one of the
Mhm.
first ones that I recall seeing repeatedly.
Yeah.
You were talking about when MTV first started, and so that was in 1981. I believe it was August. I
Mhm.
don't recall if it was the 31st or the 1st.
I think it's the first, I
The
think.
first, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So in 1981, that, transformed the music industry because videos became a part of
Mhm.
pop culture. And the very first music video was Video Killed the Radio Star by, is it the Bugles? Do you know? Is it
Yeah, I think
Bugles?
is
Okay.
it, yeah, or is it Buggle?
Buggles? I don't even know
Mhm.
because, yeah, I think they are not from the US. They're
Yeah.
from the UK possibly.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, and I don't recall anything else that they did,
Yeah.
but that one is so iconic.
Yeah.
And they had written it as a direct response to the rapid changing technology
Mhm.
and its direct effect on society, which I think is so, here
It's
we are, all these decades later, and it's the same.
yeah.
Right? I mean, they felt it was rapidly changing then, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, if, they could have foreseen what it is like now."
Right,
It's
yeah.
very crazy. So, and, we've seen it influence fashion and dance and just trends. I know that with TikTok, there's a lot of dance trends, music trends that come on. So it's really had such an impact.
Mhm.
So, but it did all start in the 80s. So I would love to know what you feel are some game-changing videos from the 80s.
Well, first ones that come to mind, because Duran is my favorite all-time band. They're just always going to be my favorite. And so they were very innovative in bringing like the mini movies. They were the first ones to really pioneer that, and like well, actually, they had done Girls on Film prior to MTV releasing, or right at the time it was releasing, and it was so risque that they had to censor it, number one, and they had a daytime Girls on Film video and a nighttime one that they could post.
Wow.
It was that controversial, but but Hungry Like the Wolf was kind of the one that really like put that. They had that little through the jungle, and I think they filmed it in like Sri Lanka or somewhere, and it was, so that one, that one, and then like of course Thriller, which was another mini movie, so I think that, a lot, and there's many of them that were filmed that way, and I loved that was, it was just such a another like as a family that listened to music all the time. My
Yeah.
mom always had music in the car. MTV was always on, that kind of thing. But before MTV, it was just the radio or a
Yeah.
record, or it was cassette something. But this gave another layer to that love of music, and so now we had a visual to go along, like readily
Yeah.
available. Like sure, there were videos before this, music videos, but MTV put that out there for us. And so then when these artists started making these little movies, it was like, what the heck? I'm watching this like movie to this song now. And so it was just really transformative to see those. So I think those are two of them that were really, game changing because it influenced so many going forward. And I also had Sledgehammer down. It's funny that you mentioned that because so Peter Gabriel, he was formerly I think he was the lead singer for Genesis. Back when, I don't remember, when the 70s or whatever, but that video featured claymation, pixelation, and stop motion, all of those different things. And I think I read once that he had to lay under plexiglass for like 16 hours to film that
Oh
thing or
my
something.
gosh.
Yeah, it was some crazy thing. I don't remember exactly, but one really interesting thing about Sledgehammer Video is in 1987, the video won 9 MTV Music Awards and still to this day holds the record for the most MTV Music Awards won for a single video.
Wow. I got
And
chills.
I know, and I just think it's crazy because there's been lots of
Right.
things after that, you know
Right.
what I mean? And there's been many innovative, I mean, just all the stuff that's come, since then, but it's just that I thought that was very impressive.
That is. I love all those tidbits or all those statistics you came up with or looked up, giving our friends out there some background on all
Yeah,
of
give a
that.
little
So
trivia, useless
yeah,
trivia,
trivia. Yeah, trivia.
I always feel like that. I'm like full of all this useless knowledge, but sometimes
No,
it's
no, I love it. It's so good. I love that.
another one that I really liked was Walk This Way with Aerosmith and Run DMC.
Yeah.
Because that was, to me, that was like this rock and roll versus hip hop rap, whatever.
Yes.
But then they come
Yes.
together and make this, and it really, well, it re-brought Aerosmith back around, but it also pushed Run DMC more,
Yeah.
like in their hip hop community, they were huge, but like to the mainstream, not so much. And so now they were like, oh, look, hey, who's Run DMC? And everybody's, listening to them because
Yeah.
it was such a cool collaboration. And so I always thought that was one that really kind of stuck out in my mind. And then I'll give you one more that was really controversial and all this stuff. It's I Want to Break Free by Queen. And that video was actually banned in the US because they cross-dressed, which Americans wouldn't know. It was a parody on a British soap opera, is what they were doing. But the Americans didn't know that. And so then they were just like, what are these guys doing? And all this kind of stuff. But it's such a fun video. And I just, I never knew, like, I don't think I ever really saw it all till later in life. I don't remember seeing it as, when it was popular because of, being banned, I guess would make sense. But it was interesting to learn that trivia about it later on, because
Yeah.
I love Queen, and I always think, they just do such outrageous things, and again, very innovative, and with all their music and things that they do. But yeah, so I thought that was a really interesting little tidbit there, because then you think about other controversial videos that were played during the time. That
Right.
was nothing. They were just dressed as women. It was no big
Right.
deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so it was just funny that's the one that got banned.
So I'm going to step back one,
Mhm.
when you were talking about Run DMC
Mhm.
and Aerosmith collaborating, it reminded me of when Eddie Van Halen played on Michael Jackson's
Mhm.
song,
Yeah.
because I remember that collaboration
Mhm.
and thinking, oh my gosh, this is huge. This is two different genres,
Mhm.
in the same video. And I thought that that was so
Mhm.
cool too. And
Yeah.
so, yes, I love when they did things like that.
Yeah.
And you had also brought up Thriller, which was huge. It
Mhm.
was such a cultural moment. It was directed by John Landis. It
Mhm.
was 14 minutes long.
Yeah.
So it was a huge cinematic event. And I think it might be lost on younger generations a little bit because they've seen it, they've seen others, and other people have done similar
Mhm.
things. Not everybody
Yeah.
can and will do that, but I remember watching that and
Mhm.
thinking, what am I watching? This is like, because you would just watch a song being sang and either the band was playing, it was different
Mhm.
shots of them, but it was never like a
Mhm.
actual movie. Like there was a storyline and
Mhm.
there was a dance and there was these costumes and they were zombies and it was just incredible, all of
Mhm.
it. And of course, we all know Thriller and that dance and how what a moment that was and how people still do it to this day
Oh,
is just
yeah. Mhm.
known. It's like everybody knows what that is. And if
Mhm.
people don't really know, they know of it. They
Yeah, for
know
sure.
that it looks familiar and that had to do something with Michael Jackson back in the
Mhm.
day. But I also loved so many of, and I also think it was because Michael Jackson was so big in
Mhm.
in that era, but Billie Jean was really huge at that time. People loved it. Now, I loved Billie Jean. I loved the song. I loved anything Michael Jackson, but I actually liked Beat It more than I liked Billie Jean. And the video I'm talking
Mhm.
about here, and I think it's because in Beat It, there was more dance choreography in
Yeah.
it. And they were like fighting each other as they were dancing, which was like West Side Story in a
Yes.
way. And so it picked up, the elements from that
Mhm.
movie and did it here. So for me, I thought both of those were very, very iconic.
Mhm.
And also the 80s can't go by without talking about Madonna,
Mhm.
and she had so many videos that were like I may have not mentioned, but I meant to mention Vogue because
Oh,
that
yeah.
also became much more than just the song. But the one that I wanted to bring up was Like a Prayer
Oh, yeah.
because it was very bold, it was controversial because
Mhm.
it had to do with race and religion and just so much, so much. And she was just that artist who wasn't afraid to say what she thought or
Mhm.
do what she wanted, and which was like, what is happening here? Because most of the times people just wanted you to listen to their music and watch your videos. So they were kind of, I mean, sure, they push boundaries. Everybody
Mhm.
was trying to push boundaries,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think her for being a woman, it was just kind of like woman empowerment for her and for
Yeah.
all of us watching. So, and also Take on Me by
Oh,
Aha.
yeah,
That
for sure.
was, yes, because that was a blend of live action and pencil sketch
Mhm.
animation. So, going into that fantasy world and we're just watching it. I didn't realize the work that went into so many
Mhm.
of these until afterwards
Right.
as I was researching and looking at all of them and how much had an impact. And I do also want to bring up Janet Jackson and Rhythm Nation, because
Mhm.
even though that was a little bit further closer to the end of the 80s and heading into the 90s, that was such a time for her
Yeah.
where she was coming out and just becoming, her own person and her own artist. And Rhythm Nation was so iconic because the dance moves were so much precision
Yeah.
and their outfits and her outfit her outfit is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I think is very cool
That's really
too.
cool, yeah.
That's my tidbit
Good tidbit, yeah.
on that song. But I also wanted to bring up a few fun ones,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna share my fun ones, and maybe if you have any fun ones that come across your as you're thinking, but one is the Go-Go's, Our Lips Are Sealed, because they're just driving in a car,
Mhm.
convertible, driving in LA, Los Angeles, down the road, just singing in this, and of course, there was no seatbelts at the time, so they were just sitting
Yeah.
wherever on the back,
Yeah.
up on the back of the car, and they show them in a fountain, and I read somewhere that that was not planned, and they were not supposed to be in the fountain, but they got in the fountain because it was a really hot day. It was in the 90s or something at the time, and so they just jumped in the fountain and filmed it.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, so I thought that that was a fun one. Me, I'm a huge Journey fan,
Mhm.
and there's so many Journey songs and music videos I love, but for some reason, Separate Ways sticks in my head, and it's just them on some dock, but it's the way they're singing into the camera, and it's almost like a fish lens in a way, and I don't know, there's something about it that just hooks me in, and I wanna keep watching them. Maybe it's Steve Perry's voice, I don't know. And then there's also Whitesnake
Oh,
with,
yeah.
yeah, Here I Go Again, with what's her name?
Tawny
Tawny?
Katane.
Yeah, Tawny Katane, and she's on that car. Oh my gosh, can't forget about her
That
on
always
that car.
that reminds you of the song, and he's like, she was gonna shake her on the hood of White Snake's car in that song. I can't think of the name of the song right now, though.
I don't can
It's
either
that
right
it
now.
was like a parody song. Oh my gosh. I think it's like 1985, I think is what the song's called. But it's going through talking about the mom and how you know, she's got two kids in high school and they tell her she's uncool because she's still preoccupied with 1985 is the other lyrics.
Ah,
And then
uh-huh.
it goes through this like she thought she was going to get her hands on the member of Duran, and they list all these different things, but one of
Right.
their things in there is, and she was going to shake her rear end on the hood of White Snake's car. And so
That's fun.
you have to
I
listen to
know.
the song because it's really funny.
Yeah. I
And
probably
the
have
lady,
heard of it. I probably heard of it.
yeah,
I just can't think of it right now. Another artist that I felt when I was watching MTV, because we would gather around friends, we would just go to people's houses and put on the TV and hang out, and that's what we were watching.
yeah,
But I remember Van Halen, so many of their songs on MTV and their videos. And one is Hot for Teacher, which parts of it, I know parts of it, I'm like, okay, there's kids in this video, and they're watching this woman. I mean, she's wearing clothes, but still,
barely.
yeah, barely, barely is right. But okay, besides that part, it's pretty funny, and it's just having these kids in the show. I don't know. It's bad.
And they're dressed just like the members of Van Halen. I love how they're all
Oh my gosh. I don't
yeah,
know
that
if
would
that's
never fly today, that's for sure.
no, but I don't know if this is the video or not. I've seen so many videos recently. But I think, is that the one where they're all dressed in suits and all the members of Van Halen are dancing? I think they have orange suits or something, all dancing in the background, and they're so funny because they're off and they're not the greatest dancers, but it is hilarious watching them doing it. Like they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go get out here
Yeah.
and we're gonna dance together." And it's pretty funny. And I do want to mention Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Pat Benatar,
Mhm.
and Blondie. There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many more. Anything else did you want to mention that was fun
Well,
that you
when you
recall?
said Cyndi Lauper, it made me think of the Goonies video because it's like that's a little story too because like she has all those at the time it was what was the WWF, right? World Wrestling Foundation. That's when, back then. And there's a lot of iconic professional wrestlers in that video. And then they find a thing in the wall and then they do this. And then the Goonies are there, and everything. And so it's, that I just love that video too, because it's so much fun. But that one, yeah, popped in my head when you said her name.
Yeah, there's so many. I know
Wow,
I'm
I know.
forgetting a lot of people, but just so
Yeah.
many. Walk Like an Egyptian. I remember
Yeah.
that one. And what is her name? She is Dreams Are Made of These.
Oh, you're
Uh,
rhythmic. Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox. I can't help but thinking about Annie Lennox because is it Sweet Dreams Are Made of
Yeah,
These? What's
Sweet
the
Dreams, I
lyric?
think in parenthesis, made of these or something, yeah, but Sweet Dreams,
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I
they
think
always had great songs,
they
yeah.
did. They
Yeah.
did have great songs. Very cool. Okay, we could live
Yes.
in the 80s, you
We
and
could
I.
sit here all night and talk.
We could keep talking about them, sing it, everything else. But I want my MTV. Anyways, oh my God, that song too. It has some lyrics in there.
Yeah.
But I love that song.
I
Like,
know.
damn it. Um, all right. So I do want to talk, move a little bit forward into the 90s, 2000s, because things have changed. Music
Yeah.
has changed. How we get our music changed. What videos, music videos outside of the 80s have you seen resonate with you? You think have an
Um,
impact? And if you do have any, is there any tiebacks to
mhm,
any of the earlier ones?
mhm. Well, I think, one thing that was, like the 80s were over, the 90s started, and all of a sudden grunge is the thing. And it's like, I feel like they try to do complete opposite of what, okay, the 80s did this, then we're going to do that, just because they were setting themselves apart. And it was such a different sound than what we had
Yeah.
heard all throughout the 80s, even though it did change throughout the 80s, but it was still pretty similar. So then here you get the 90s grunge rock, and it's like their videos were dark and, just very minimalist, and the music was amazing. It was just a
Yeah.
fun new era of music, but the videos were like stripped down. We didn't get, I mean, there still were some that, were very artsy and kind of things like that, but for the most part, a lot of, like Nirvana and even like Soundgarden and stuff that, a lot of their videos, I guess Soundgarden kind of did some fun stuff with theirs too, but like even like Pearl Jam, a lot of times it was just them, or whatever. And so it was, yeah, quite a change from what we saw in the
Mhm.
80s. And not, good or bad. They're both just different styles, but it was like, whoa, this is very different. So it really got our attention because
It
it was so
did.
different. Yeah. It was just like this, we hit a wall and flipped over and it went completely in a different direction.
Well, with Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit came out in 1991, and it is exactly what you said. It was because it is about rebellion
Yeah.
and anti-establishment, and that's what was happening in the 90s, and that their particular music video is on a very top list of a lot, because I
Mhm.
was researching a lot of lists. They were on top of a
Mhm.
lot of lists, and it was just because it was so cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it just was. They were so cool. I think when you match, or sometimes you don't even have to do a lot when you already have the music and this. I don't know if it's intensity, I don't know if it's charisma, I don't
Mhm.
know if it's just chemistry or just the magic of them playing, but it transcends and
Mhm.
you
Oh, yeah.
can feel it. And that is what happened with them, I think, in this. Plus, the setting was a basketball, like a
Like
high
a
school
gymnasium.
basketball
Yeah.
yeah, of some sort. So, you're putting this in with that, and,
Yeah.
that already right there, you're like, I'm sure parents were like, "What? Not my high school, what are you doing?"
I think the cheerleaders' outfits even had like, anarchy symbols on them maybe or something. I feel like that was
Ah,
because I think they were like in black, just making everything opposite of what the norm was. And that's again, just like in the beginning of MTV, everything was innovative at that point because we didn't see a lot of videos. They were making
yeah,
videos, but they weren't readily available to us. So in the 80s, like, oh wow, this is all brand new. Then the 90s go, oh wait, now this is brand new.
yeah,
And so it grabs your attention, and it's always fun to have something new, especially for people who love music. It's you don't.
yeah.
I mean, I listen to a lot of the same stuff over and over, but I mean, it's fun to find new sounds and new types of music and things. And yeah, and Nirvana was just like kind of like the forefront of leading that whole thing.
Yeah. Are there any others that come to mind for you?
Well, I was like, then like, later we had like the boy bands, like a very different boy band that did a lot of the dancing, the
Yeah.
choreography and things were, it was just fun. And I didn't listen to a lot of it. My daughter was kind of growing up in that era and stuff. And so, she was a huge NSYNC fan
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. But yeah, so that was always fun to watch them and like the dancing because it was just so well done. And so I thought
Yeah.
that was good. And like, I also thought about like Lady Gaga. I loved her Judas video. I loved that video. It was just so fun. And again, the dancing. I mean, it's like I'm not a person that can, like cannot do those choreography, that's not my wheelhouse. But it's so fun to watch that because it's just timed so well and they're so talented and stuff. And so I thought those kind of came to my mind as real fun things. And I don't listen to a lot of real modern music. And so I don't know a lot of, and I really guess I don't see a lot of videos, newer videos, And so,
I want to say so many things because I do want to say, with you saying I don't see a lot of videos, I think that was the impact of MTV and what it gave us. And the fact that we all had to, you and I and other people from a certain time
yeah,
had to watch ATV
yeah,
to get a lot of things, or else you were listening to a radio, right? We didn't have laptops and computers at that
mhm,
time. So it gave us this time to sit around TV with other people or whatever it was and watch it. And a lot of times the shows were ongoing. That's all you would see
mhm,
was all these music videos. And like I said, when I'd go to friends' house, that's what we would watch. And then as time went on, you see YouTube videos, and now it's on snippets on TikTok. You can see them
yeah,
very quickly. So you get it in a different way. And with YouTube, there are millions and billions of watches on them. Just
yeah,
that sometimes you don't know or I don't know, right? Because you don't think about it and it's not a place for us to get together, or it's not on TV at a certain time where
mhm,
you think, you know what, I'm going to watch the show because it's going to show us all these videos. So, it's a little more, I don't
mhm,
know, fragmented in a way,
yeah,
right? It's like you have to go search for it. And
mhm,
the only thing that I can say, unless there's something that I'm not thinking of, unless it's TikTok, but you have to go search for it, right? But
right,
what if you don't know about it?
mhm,
Then you won't search for it. Where I think when we had MTV, it was fed to us. It was
yeah,
like,
constant,
this is what's
24 hours,
happening.
yeah,
This is
24
what's
hours a day.
happening. And you're like, what? What? Oh, I like that. I don't like that, whatever it is. So, and and same thing with television. We had to watch it. We were exposed to it. We
Yeah,
saw it. There's things we love that we saw. There's things we didn't like that we saw. But again, now you choose what you're going to go watch.
mhm,
You're going to choose to watch something on Netflix or Apple Plus TV or wherever you're at. But sometimes you don't get to experience new things or things that are out of your norm because you just don't think about it. It doesn't
yeah,
come to mind. So I think that's a little bit kind of a bummer for people now because yeah, they just have to figure it out a different way. But as you were talking about boy bands, I was thinking about that too. I had those on my list. I had Backstreet Boys, which I was a fan of the Backstreet Boys, but I know that I Want It That Way was so popular and pervasive in the late 90s at that Blink 182 did a parody on it, and it was equally iconic, and that was their All the Small Things,
yeah,
so their video. So I thought that that was interesting that here Backstreet Boys was super popular with theirs, and then Blink-182's all,
mhm,
"Hey, let's do a takeoff on that," and they got, that was popular for
mhm.
them. And also, like you had mentioned, In Sync, the was it Bye Bye Bye? Is that the one with the puppets? I can't even remember now. I've seen so many of In
I
Sync.
think that's the puppet one, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Now, I didn't read this, but I just thought I remember this. I thought the whole reasons of the puppets was when, their manager, what's his
Yeah, it was
face?
something to do, yeah,
Luke
like
Pearlman,
a
because he was so much in control of them and they were finally getting out of those
choreographed,
clutches,
yeah.
which is a really good documentary on Netflix, by the way, if you want to check that out, about him and how he controlled so many of the boy bands
Mhm,
back then. But anyway, and also currently BTS is so huge. They have billions of views on their YouTube on Dynamite specifically. And if you go watch it, it was interesting to watch it because I wanted to see, I heard the song, but I
mhm,
had to watch their music video. So I went and watched it and I loved the visuals. They were so good. It was pastels and it was them dancing and it would highlight each member of the band, sing a few lines. So it reminded me of the Backstreet Boys and
mhm,
probably others before them. So I thought it was kind of cool to see that. And they were
yeah,
really good singers, really good dancers. You could tell they all had their own personalities. And I loved the cinematography and music videos. It was really well done.
mhm.
So That was the link that I saw to a little bit older videos. And I do wanna mention Billie Eilish is huge, and I really am a fan of her and her work, and also Lady Gaga,
Mhm.
"Telephone" featuring Beyonce. That is one of the coolest newer, well, it's not that new, but newer to me and maybe
Yeah.
you. That was such a cool music video, and if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's like it's a mini movie, and Lady Gaga's so good,
Yeah.
Bad Romance,
Mhm.
so many others. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of hers, and I
Mhm.
actually like a music video with her and Bruno Mars with that current song that they have. I don't know if you've heard of that
Mhm.
song, "Die with a Smile."
Mm.
Okay. Have you heard of this song, Renee?
Mm.
Okay. It's newer. It's not very old, like a couple I think a couple months old, but it's a video with her and Bruno Mars, and it's a throwback, and it's just her and a piano and him singing. Oh, it's so good. It's not like a mini movie or iconic, it's just them 2 singing, but both their voices
Mm.
and Bruno
Yeah, I
Mars.
bet.
Yeah, he's so good. Now Bruno Mars is also in a duet with Rosé, who is a part of, Blackpink, I think
Mm.
she's yeah, that is so catchy on APT. It's APT. Have you seen this one? Have you
Nope.
okay, that's your
I've got
homework.
I've got homework to do, yes.
Woo! Just look up Bruno Mars and his collaborations because he's in both of those. You
Okay.
know, over here he's with Rosé and over here he's with Lady Gaga, and he's amazing, but they are amazing too. And both those songs are so good for 2 different reasons. The one with Rosé is catchy,
Mhm.
very catchy, and the visuals are fun. It's more like a fun catchy, where the one with Lady Gaga is more heartfelt and ballady.
Mhm.
So it depends on which one you're looking for. So, but and then I do want to mention Despacito with Luis Fonsi because that has 8.6 billion views on YouTube.
Jeez. That's crazy.
I know, isn't it? It's like, wow. Okay. Oh, we didn't mention Beyonce, Single Ladies.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was huge. I mean, it's just them three
Yeah.
just doing a dance, black and white. I think it's black and white. It's very minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, Beyonce has a lot of videos, but that
Mhm.
one to me, I you can't help it. Everybody's doing it
Yeah.
all over the place,
And it's been parodied
recreating it.
by so many
Yes,
people in different
yes,
ways and things, yeah.
yes, yes. So I love that. And then also we have to bring up Britney Spears because
Mhm.
at the time when she was so popular, Baby One More Time, it was just sort of her breakout
Yeah.
from I think Disney and everything else.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I think, yeah, that was
so
break free
it
from that image and make
yes,
her own
exactly,
way.
exactly, and she had so many others besides that.
Mhm.
I think one of my son's girlfriends said, "What is the song?" Oh, Womanizer.
Mm, yeah.
She's like, "Whoa," I think that when I said, "Oh, what is a music video that, like, had an impact on you or
Mhm.
just made you go like, 'Oh my gosh,'" she said that one. So, there's so many out there that have had an impact on fashion, and did you ever do any fashions from the '80s that you saw on video by
Oh,
chance?
yeah, I mean, I feel like we constantly watched looking for, like ways to do different things, and I remember one thing I just popped into my head. So George Michael, I want to say,
Oh, George
he,
Michael.
yeah, I know, he just popped in my head.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been his Faith video, and with the
Yeah.
dreadlocks and that, and he had this earring with a cross hanging from it.
Yes.
Yep, I immediately did that. I remember that was like one thing I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally doing that. That's so cool." And it was just this big hoop with a cross hanging from it. But yeah, we always watched to see what Cindy Lauper was wearing and Madonna, and
Yeah.
the like the O rings. We wore those. Madonna had them like that thick, and we just had them like that. Just all the different things, the skirts and the little leggings,
Yes.
the little booties. I had like several pair of those little booty things, and trying to like mimic their outfits. And I mean, even a lot of the bands like it was like Duran, for instance, they dressed very effeminate, and so it was like, well, we can just copy what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I loved, yeah, that was one thing that was, I think I had that in my notes earlier earlier and forgot to mention it. But yeah, we definitely watched and like, oh, look what they're doing. Oh, look what they're wearing.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mhm.
so it was, yeah, very impactful in that way also.
I remember watching those videos with Madonna and copying what she was
Yeah.
wearing. You wanted to wear what they were wearing and just be on trend with everybody else, and I'm so glad you brought up George Michael because he was so
Oh,
impactful too.
yeah, I loved him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love Duran Duran. I didn't say that earlier when you were saying that was one of your that was one of my favorites too.
Hmm.
I really did love them in that era. All right,
Yes.
we are gonna get to our top 3 music videos, okay? I would love to know, Renee, what are your 3 favorite music videos?
Well, this was very, very difficult to pinpoint into three, but I went with Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran because I just thought that was so amazing. And Hot for Teacher by Van Halen because
Oh,
because I just
wow!
remember that as a kid and we laughed and there's like the jargon at the beginning where they're talking and we it was just I just remember that very fondly. And then I Want to Break Free by Queen because it was just I think part of it was the fact I didn't see it till later in life. I was like, what is this? This is amazing. And so yeah, so that's my top three, at least today. That's my answer.
Right, right. Oh, God, you're killing me, you're killing me. So and I love that because your 3 are not 3 that I would have really thought about, and it's so funny that you said Hot for Teacher, that is crazy.
When you started talking, I was like, ah, that's
I
one of mine.
love it. I love that we talked about it and then you brought it. Okay, I'm just gonna answer this. Oh, man. Okay, so my top 3 would be Michael Jackson, Thriller, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. Wow, that was I love it. Love it,
Yeah,
love it, love it. It's huge.
yeah.
It's so big. And then I'm having trouble here. I think I'm going to say Madonna, uh, Like a Prayer.
Mhm.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I like Papa Don't Preach.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
I
great
kinda
video.
like Papa Don't Preach. Oh my gosh. Okay, just Madonna, all right?
Anything Madonna. In 1980s and Madonna, that's
Yeah,
her
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So,
It is
I
hard,
don't
yeah.
yeah, it's so hard. It is. It's very, very hard. So,
Mhm.
all right, with all of that, we are gonna get back to our question of the day. And so our question of the day is, what's your all-time favorite music video? So friends out there, think about that. And then I'm gonna ask Renee if it's maybe one of the ones she's mentioned, or maybe it's something different. I don't know. So Renee, share with all of us, what is your all-time favorite music video?
Well, as much as I wanna say a Duran Duran video, I put that in my number in my 3, but my like, if you wanna, like, completely all-time favorite, it has to be Thriller because going back to what you said, it was when I remember like Thriller's on, the MTV is playing, you walk out of the room and everybody's yelling Thriller's on. And so you ran back in because you had to see it again because you just couldn't, like you said, you couldn't believe what you were watching. This is a music video and there's dialogue and there's a story and you got,
Yeah.
Vincent Price in the background and
Yes, yes.
there was just so much going on from the dance routine and then the undead guys all over and girls everywhere. It was just so fun. And so I think if I'm gonna like say one all time, it has to be Thriller.
And I have to agree with you. I could say another one, and I this was the other thing that I wanted to say. I actually really loved the video The Way You Make Me Feel.
Mhm,
That was one of my favorite videos of his, one of his favorite
mhm.
songs. They're all my favorite songs, so who
I
am
know,
I kidding?
Michael Jackson.
But what I'm saying is I really did
Mhm,
like that video and that
mhm,
story and watching all of that. He had a lot other videos that were really we didn't even touch upon.
mhm,
But how do you get away from something so iconic as
mhm.
Thriller? Because like you said, we would run to the TV anytime we saw it. And yes, it had all that. It had Vincent Price, it had them turning into zombies. And then I love the ending when he comes up to her his voice, it's all sweet, and she looks at him, she's not afraid, and then they start to walk away, and then he turns around and looks at us. I'm like, "Oh my god, that is so good."
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, it's just iconic.
Yeah. The one thing I wanna bring up to people because and I think this is probably adds to all of that at the time, but I remember when Michael Jackson was on, the award shows, and I don't know if you were I'm thinking you probably do remember this, but do you remember when he was on was it a Grammys or a Motown special? I can't remember what it was when he was with all his brothers and they all sang, and then he had that iconic moment when he stepped away from being with his brothers, and that was the first time he ever did the moonwalk on television. Do you remember that?
I remember it, but I can't. I want to say it's the Grammys, but I don't 100% know. But yes, I absolutely remember that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was like, we were all just like, "What's he doing?"
Yes.
I mean, it was mind blowing.
Well, I think people don't know, like,
Mhm,
they didn't get to experience that because
mhm,
I remember me and my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we were, young when that was happening. And I remember we both like sat up in our chair and we're like, our mouths dropped. We're like, oh my God, what's happening? And you can feel this intensity and this
mhm,
it was like it was our minds were blown. Our minds were
mhm.
blown. We're like, "What is he doing across the stage?" And it was like something just so epic. Because, like I said, he
Mhm.
was breaking free. He'd always been with his brothers. He'd always sang with his brothers, and now he's like, "No, I'm doing my own thing. Here I am. Here I come. This is what I'm giving you. This is my voice. This is my talent. I'm giving everything that I have here." And it was just an amazing time. So I just think that also what he brought to his art, his craft, he gave it all to us. He left it on the
Yeah,
dance floor, the music floor, whatever, the stage. I was not ever fortunate to see him live, which
yeah,
I don't even know how that happened. I don't know if he never came to my city or something. I don't know what it was, but I am so sad about that
yeah.
because I have seen Janet Jackson 3 times, but
Really? That's fun.
yeah, in the early '90s, I did see her during Rhythm Nation and all
Mhm.
of that, but I have seen her. All right, friends out there, we would love to know what is your all-time favorite music video because there are so many out there and we know we only covered a certain amount of them. So please share it with us. You can get to us, leave a comment here if you're watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, or if you want to just get to our social media at Screens in Focus, or you can go to screensinfocus.com and get to all of our social media there. And you can even call us at 669 223 8542. That number is also in our show notes along with our website because we would love to know what your favorite music video
Yeah.
is. All right. So I love that we talked about this, Renee. It was so much fun because they are like mini movies, so much entertainment, so much art, so much creativity. So, and such a time capsule
Mhm.
of all those things. So, thank you for talking with me about that. And please be sure to check out the following podcast episode where we are going to talk about movie soundtracks. That
Yeah.
will be fun too, because we love music, the both
Mhm.
of us. Okay, before we close out this episode, Renee, I would love to know if you have any TV or movie recommendations.
Oh, I guess. Oh, wow. Let's see. Gosh. I started watching Tulsa King because that's been on our list forever. Oh my gosh. What an amazing show. I can't, like, we're only maybe 4 or 5 episodes in. I'm like, this is fantastic. I mean,
Yes.
this is the, like, I can't even explain how good he is in this. Sylvester Stallone is in this show. So if you haven't watched Tulsa King, yes, definitely watch that. We finished The Landman. That
Oh,
another Taylor Sheridan. Have you watched that one yet?
I have, but I'm not done yet. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm
Oh,
I'm getting close to being done, I
yeah,
think.
that one I couldn't stop. Like, it was like, come on, come on. I kept waiting. You had to wait every week for the new episode. And I want to say that's one of Taylor Sheridan's best. I
Wow.
I mean, I haven't watched all of his stuff, but like the more recent things, I would put like 1883 as my top, and then
Me too.
Landman is, yeah. I just loved. I don't know if just his writing isn't crazy. It's just so good,
No. Yeah,
you know?
it is. It is.
And oh, and I haven't talked to you for a while. I finished Lost finally. I finally watched all of Lost for the first time, people. First time watcher. How many years later? And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Had no problem with the ending, which I know.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. I was so irritated with the last like season or whatever it was. I'm
oh
like,
yeah. And I read after it was done. I read a lot of things, and I guess my thing is I liked a lot of it being left to my imagination. I liked a lot of it left for me to decide, okay, what happened to everybody, you know? And I read several really good articles where they kind of broke down some things. And so anyway, I was happy with it. I was fine with it. And Only Murders in the Building.
oh yeah.
I hadn't watched that one. Again, I've had these on my list forever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm on I think I'm in season almost done with season 3, I believe. Because I think there's 4 seasons, aren't there? I
I
think.
think so. Yeah.
But I've told people who they're like, "Oh, how do you like it?" I'm like, "Well, to me, to put it into a box, it's Knives Out meets Clue." That's kind of how I put it.
Yeah.
And so my daughter said, "Oh, now I want to watch it," you know. So,
Yeah.
anyways, those are like the most recent things. I know there's been several other because we've really watched a lot of TV more than movies lately, but those are the ones I've really been enjoying. And I know some of them are way old, but that's where I'm at.
I love it. I love it. I think those are solid recommendations because I
Good.
love every single one of them. All right. So my recommendations are Severance. Season 2 is back on Apple Plus TV. It is, have you seen it at all?
Oh, and that's another one that's on the list.
It is like it'll blow your mind. I will tell you because I know you'll probably will watch it because you're a person who does follows through eventually, right? When it comes out.
That's right.
But the first episode, the first few episodes, you're so confused and you're like, what the heck is going on? But once you get to a certain point and you kind of realize what's really happening, you're like, oh my God. And then you still can't keep up. You're like, what? Like your mind is like, what's happening? There's so many theories. You're like, oh, and I love it because you're clutching at, oh, that could be true. That could be true because it's all like mind bending stuff,
Mhm.
which is so fun
Yeah.
and cool. It just shows how well written this
Mhm.
show is. So I highly recommend it. But yes, your mind will be blown. Night Agent season 2 is out. I'm almost done with season 2. It's really good. And that's on Netflix. It's just a really solid show. So I really like that. Okay, I'm late to this one. Next one. The next one is Vikings season 6, and I'm almost done. Did you see this?
No,
Or no?
I have not watched this at all. Yeah.
It is so damn good. I can't. Me and my husband like don't want to go to bed because we watch it on Saturday nights. Because that's when we watch the same thing, and we like or keep watching and watching and watching, and like people are dying, people are being killed, people are undermining other people, and kind of it's not like Game of Thrones, but sort of
Mhm.
that whole family and trying to be, but it's based on historical
Yeah.
people and
Mhm.
events and such. So we're almost done with that, which I'm really going to be really, 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 really sad because it's
Yeah.
very good. It's very violent, but it's very good. I also saw American Primeval on Netflix.
Oh, we watched that.
It's so good, right?
Uh,
So good.
Incredible. Incredible.
I'm so glad you said that because I am like, because some people were like,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know why, but I
And
guess
I feel
people,
like they could do so much with kind of not really spin-off seasons, but like almost like flashback seasons where they show us how like different the different groups were created,
yeah,
and there's
yeah,
a lot they could do with even doing like a season focused on a backstory of this group
yeah,
and of this,
yeah,
and things. But
yeah,
no, I like that because people don't realize how even when you read about like how they settled the West and how they did those things, they don't realize it wasn't just, oh, let's just jump in a wagon and we're gonna go. It's
yeah.
nothing like that. It's so, yeah. And like 1883, Taylor Sheridan one,
Yes.
that one was pretty brutal, but this one
Yeah,
blows it away. So if you
yeah,
like
yeah.
1883, definitely watch this one, but be prepared. Not
I
for the
love
faint of
both
heart.
of them. I know, I love both of them because I
Mhm.
feel like, yes, they show how hard it is. It's
Yep.
not
Mhm.
an easy life to get through. That's what made me
Mhm.
appreciate so much of the life that people led,
Mhm.
in the 1800s. It's like,
Yeah.
wow,
Mhm.
you really to survive, you had to be really strong or
Mhm.
really lucky,
Yeah.
one of the or really brutal or something to
Something,
get
yeah.
through, just like Vikings too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, but it's like, because it's true. These things
Mhm.
happen.
There,
Vikings
yeah.
stuff happened. The West happened, right? So it's like, wow,
Mhm.
it's just so interesting. So check that out on Netflix. Now, switching, I watched Disclaimer on Apple Plus TV. Have you
No.
seen this at all? Okay.
Mhm.
It's with Kate Blanchett,
Oh.
and she, in a nutshell, she is like a famous journalist, if that's even her role, because it
Mhm.
doesn't really end up playing a part. But she's married. She has a child, but something happened 20 years prior, and a book gets sent to her with like information in it that
Mm.
she doesn't want let out. But I don't want to give anything away, but things aren't always what they appear, is what I want to say. It is so well acted. It is so good. Kevin Kline is in it,
Mm.
and it's just a really it's very a little it has some scenes in there that are a little bit explicit, just a little bit, not I mean, it what I mean by a little bit is, like, it's not the whole way through
Yeah.
every episode, but it happens, like, in a few
Mhm.
episodes. But yeah, I'm like, "Oh, what's happening here?" Okay, but it was really good.
Mhm.
Really, really good. And then for movies, I just wanna mention I did see Nosferatu.
Mhm.
I am not a vampire movie, but this was a fantastic movie. The mood, the acting, it was really well done. Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult. I think it's Bill Skarsgård, which I think is correct, but he was so amazing in this. It's just a really, really well-made movie. I'm surprised it didn't get any Oscar noms. I really am. I'm a little bit bummed for it, but it was a good movie. And I saw A Complete Unknown with
Mm.
Timothy Chalamet, and
Mhm.
it was Timothy Chalamet. Man,
Mhm.
so good. Really good movie because I don't know Bob Dylan that well. Sure, I know
Mhm.
his music, but I haven't ever followed him. So it was really good to learn because it was just a segment of Bob Dylan's life, kind of like
Yeah.
the early 60s, and that's all it
Mhm.
spans. And it was just really well done. All the performances were really great.
Mhm.
And so it was really good at creating that again. So check out those movies, check out those recommendations, TV shows from Renee and I. But that is a wrap up on this podcast episode. Renee, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I really enjoyed this.
I love talking with you about anything
Yeah.
but music is so much fun.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
also, I want to let you know I have all of Renee's links in the show notes. So
Thank
be
you.
sure to check out. Do you want to say anything about?
Yeah, just I would love, yeah, I love you to come check out my stuff. And I write a lot about The Walking Dead, but I write about a lot of other things as well. And so yeah, I would love for you guys to check out my stuff.
Yeah, yeah. She does a lot of writing. It's so good. I've mentioned this before, but it's just if you subscribe, you get like 3 articles that she's written, and they're really short reads, so it's really
Mhm.
easy. And it's not just about The Walking Dead, which we both love. It's about different actors and
Mhm.
characters and such. So it's just really great information,
Mhm.
and
Thank
just a lot of pop culture stuff
you.
in there too. So all right, friends out there, we are so thankful that you joined us. We are grateful. We hope that we said something today that resonated with you, gave you a smile, a chuckle. Please remember to subscribe to Screens in Focus at screensinfocus.com. Follow us on social media, and remember to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.